All right, so in the last session, we used the computer keyboard to control some live instruments within Live by using that button there, arming a couple of tracks via the command click and playing. Okay, the fact is that Ableton is awesome for MIDI. It just works in every way on MIDI, and the things that it can do are going to blow you away. It's really pretty easy. Command comma gives me live preferences. This top part is for control surfaces, but we're not dealing with control surfaces right now. We're dealing with ports, MIDI ports. What's all this malarkey down here? I've got a bunch of inputs and I've got a bunch of outputs. For one thing, make sure that you have in the view menu, make sure you have your info on and take a good look, because as I scroll over each of these buttons, down in here appears the description, okay? Basically, here's the bottom line. This is like a MIDI mixer. I can receive inputs and outputs. The inputs are me playing a keyboard into Live and expecting a result. The outputs would be Live pushing a MIDI sequence out to, say, another old school synth or something, and expecting results. So that's the two things, pushing in, getting a result, or Live pushing MIDI out and getting a result. When I get MIDI in, I'm going to get this button here. When Live is sending MIDI out, I get that button there, top, bottom. Okay, so very quickly, I just have these keyboards on this rig. It looks complicated, but it's a reflection of my setup. So in the Applications folder under Utilities, there's the Audio MIDI setup. We've been there before, except for we were in the audio side looking at audio. On MIDI devices, this is a reflection of my studio. There's the IAC driver. There's a network driver that has to do with sending things via Ethernet between computers. There's my Roland or my Edirol main keyboard. There's the Akai APC 40 that I have, pad control, 2 Korg pieces in this M-Box. And then I have down here an old school MIDI Express with old school synthesizers that are currently offline right now. And you can tell they're offline because it's grayed out. Now, I'll just do a quick little test. If you're in Guitar Center and somebody says, yes, it's a class compliant MIDI device, and you just kind of don't want to look stupid because you don't know what that means, watch this microcontrol. And I'm going to demonstrate what a class compliant device is. Here we go. I'm plugging it in, and the computer sees it. That's all it is. That's all a class compliant device is. Now, how do I know that the computer actually sees all of this stuff? I just say test setup. I'm going to play my Edirol and I see that. I'm going to touch the stop button on the APC and I see that. I'm going to play the pad control. I see that and I hear something. I'm going to play the micro. I see that and I hear something. And in the M-Box I don't use for MIDI in the first place. Cool. Now, back to the preferences, command comma. I can play my main keyboard, but I don't hear it. And that's because I have this off. Okay, so it is just a monkey business of getting in here and going, does this work? And turning it on. Does that work? And turning it off. So that's how you'll work your setup. And again, class compliant devices are the ones that the Mac can see. If you plug in your device or some dude shows up in your studio with some Australian piece of gear or whatever, and you don't see it, it's simple. This MIDI Express, the Mac couldn't see it. So I went and downloaded drivers for this. For OS X, I installed them and bam, the Mac could see it. Good. So that's the quick start for setting up external USB MIDI keyboards and just a tiny glimpse at setting up old school synthesizers to be accessed by Live. Actually, all I have to do is plug that cable in and they all go. So the next lesson is going to be taking a look at some of the look and feel preferences. And then we're going to move through to the interface. All good.